Hi, my name is Jenn Bouchard, and I'm thrilled to be a part of the launch of the summer issue. I'm going to share just the beginning of my short story, Tape on the Floor. Here are the things we really need, my mother explained, tapping her pen on the grocery list. If you can get the things in the second column, even better. But we'll be okay for now if you can't. I've been hearing that it's getting tough to get everything you want. When you're 30, you don't imagine moving out of your South End apartment in Boston back to the house in the suburbs where you lived when you went to high school, or elementary school, or middle school for that matter. But in the early days of the pandemic, that's just what I did. I half grunted in acknowledgement, picking up my purse and taking the list from her. I glanced at it, noting that nothing really had changed. My parents were still eating the same boring and fairly unhealthy processed and prepared meals they had while I was growing up. My overall diet had improved since leaving home, but my heavy reliance on takeout salads and grain bowls and smoothies was going to be a challenge away from the city. I still couldn't cook much of anything. Don't forget your mask. I bought some online and washed them for you, Hannah. They're in the basket next to the washing machine. They're from Esty. I rifled through a wicker basket that was lined with a gingham cloth. Is this like a picnic basket or something? When on earth did my parents ever go on a picnic? They barely left the house even before the corona hit. And the contents of the basket? Masks that looked like they were made from the hideous wallpaper in their dining room. Etsy, Mom. The website is called Etsy. I finally settled on a cream color mask with burgundy flowers, grabbed a pair of nitrile gloves and my car keys, and headed out to buy groceries. I drove right past the old-fashioned store where my parents bought their frozen dinners and canned goods and headed into the next town where the gourmet grocer was located. Not only was I seeking better food, maybe some pre-made sesame noodles or a yogurt and granola parfait, but I also wanted to avoid the possibility of seeing anyone from high school. Roads that were typically packed with cars and trucks and school buses were eerily quiet, with a few vehicles here and there and one lone jogger in the drizzly grayness of mid-March New England. I found a parking spot easily, but audibly sighed to myself when I saw a line of patrons standing outside of the store waiting to get inside. They were all wearing rain jackets. Not anticipating anything at all like these circumstances, I had only worn my joggers and a thin pullover fleece. I fixed my mask and slid into my gloves as I walked to the end of the line. There was an employee by the store entrance who was letting people enter as others exited. Another employee, wearing a full-length hooded raincoat, mask, gloves, and science lab goggles, holding a clipboard, paced back and forth and appeared to be keeping an eye on the line, making sure that hungry and anxious suburbanites didn't get too rowdy. If only the Instacart slots weren't booked up for the next 2 weeks. Hannah Moore? I heard my name unexpectedly and snapped to attention. I looked ahead of me and saw a tall man in a Red Sox mask and with brown hair that was dripping water onto his shoes. I had found the only other person without proper weather gear on. Tommy? I was glad I had my mask on, even if it was hideous. I didn't want him to see my nervous smile. I felt like I was 14 years earlier again, and I was assigned to be his chemistry lab partner. I struggled to keep my shit together around him the entire year, and it didn't seem much easier at 30. What are you doing here? Could he hear me clearly in my mask? I didn't know how loud I should be talking. Tape on the floor, yelled the man in the goggles, seemingly in my direction. It was tough to tell with everything he had on his face. Huh? I asked, and then looked at Tommy. He shrugged his shoulders and looked from side to side. Goggle man faced us, being careful to stand a critical 6 feet away. He pointed to the ground by Tommy's feet, where there was a piece of yellow tape. You see that tape? He's standing where he should be standing. I know he's handsome, but you need to back up to where your tape is, behind you. My face felt hot and red. I hoped that goggle man wouldn't take out a contactless thermometer and bar me from the store. Sorry, I mumbled and hung my head, backing up to the tape. I had already experienced enough rejection in the last month, and being reprimanded by a stranger in front of my high school crush was too much for 9 a.m. Just after I stepped into place, the line advanced, and I had to move forward. As soon as Goggle Man left us, I looked up at Tommy for some kind of reaction. Did I just get hit on by that guy in the goggles, he asked, and I burst out laughing. It felt good to laugh. I'll leave you there. Thanks, everyone, and congratulations.